Welcome everyone to another session on current affairs by CVS 360 IAS Academy. In this session, we will be discussing about an important archaeological site which is Sirpur. Sirpur is actually located in Chhattisgarh, and it was in news because the government was actually planning to improve the connectivity of Sirpur, give it a total facelift so that it can be sent for as a nomination to the UNESCO for the World Heritage Site tag. So we will study about Sirpur, we will study about the different dynasties associated with it, different monuments, archaeological monuments that are there in Sirpur, what are the contributions of this site has made to the religion, different religions in India. Okay, so this was the news. The news was that Chhattisgarh's 5th century Sirpur is actually getting a facelift. Okay, so to talk about this site Sirpur, it's also known as Sripur or Sripura. So this site was actually mentioned in the Allahabad inscription. So if you know about the Allahabad inscription, which is actually also known as the Prayag Prashasti, which was actually written by the court poet of, if you remember that, Harisena, right? Harisena was actually the court poet of Samudragupta, the Allahabad pillar inscription. It's also known as the Praya Prashasti. Then Jahangir also, after a period, he also inscribed into it. But just remember those kind of things whenever you read. It helps you to revise your facts as well. So it was actually, it mentions the Sirpur as Sripura in that inscription as well. Okay, so it was actually discovered in 1882 by Alexander Cunning. So please remember the name. Please remember who actually discovered the site. It was discovered by Alexander Cunningham, who was actually the first Director General of ASI also. Okay, he became the first Director General of ASI in 1871. Okay, it was discovered in 1882. Okay, the next important fact you have to remember regarding Sirpur is that it is a typical example of early medieval urban planning, right? Early medieval urban planning. So remember, it was an urban center. Okay, Sirpur was an urban center in the medieval era, right? That is also important. Now remember the broad timeline where this site was actually in prominence. It was between 5th century and the 12th century. That's also important. And the next important point is that it had contributed, it had influences from Hindu, Jain and Buddhist monuments, right? So all these cultures, all these religions and their temples, their sculptures, they can all be seen in Sirpur. Okay, Hindu, Jain and Buddhist. Okay, and its location is near Raipur in Chhattisgarh. It's on the bank of the river Mahadev. That's also important. Okay, now we need to know about the different dynasties associated with this period. So now UPSC sometimes they will ask, not very well known dynasties, right? And the kings are in that particular dynasty. But do not this news actually does not actually need you to go deeply into those kind of things, but you need to know who ruled at that point of time, like from 5th to 12th century, who actually ruled over that Chhattisgarh, which at that time it was part of the larger region known as Dakshina Kosala, right? So Dakshina Kosala is a region in the earlier medieval period which actually composed of the erstwhile Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. Okay, I will give you another a picture for you to understand, but remember Dakshina Kosala, where it was, which period, okay, and who actually ruled at that point of time. So the first important dynasty which actually made Sirpur its capital was this dynasty, Sharabhapuriyas dynasty, right? So remember this dynasty. Okay, then after that you have the Panduvamshis dynasty, right? Panduvamshis dynasty which succeeded the Sharabhapuriyas dynasty, and after the Panduvamshis you had the Somavamshis. Okay, after that come the Somavamshis, and after Somavamshis the Kalachuris will come. So please understand the chronology of these dynasties. Please also remember that these are not like strict timelines, right? Please understand that when one dynasty is there, the other dynasty or might be there as vassals, right? So they might not be that prominent, but they all were in existence in a contiguous manner. Okay, so remember Dakshina Kosala. Okay, another important point is that this site, Sirpur, is also famous for bronze sculptures. In fact, this site has a Jainist sculpture, bronze sculpture of the first Tirthankara, Rishabha, Adinatha. The Jains call them Adinatha, and which was actually Rishabhadeva, right? Rishabhadeva, the first Tirthankara. There's a bronze sculpture of this Tirthankara at Sirpur. Please keep that in mind. Bronze sculpture. It was also visited by Huan Sang. In fact, it is mentioned by Huan Sang in his chronicles that it was a huge place for Buddhist religion. Lot of monks were there. Okay, and so also Buddhist certain viharas also are also there. Like for example, Tirvadeva Vihara is there. There Swastika Vihara is there. So we will see also all those things as well. So remember, Buddhism is there, Jainism is there, Hinduism was also there. Okay, so this is just a map at that point of time, and this was kind of like for like 5th century, 6th century, this will be helpful for you to remember. So here you have the Dakshina Kosala region, which was actually initially ruled by Sharabhapuriyas, then you have the Panduvamshis, then you have the Somavamshis, and then you have the Kalachuris. Right, so please understand how you just have a broader context of how India looked like. Which were the important regions, which region lies where, right? You need to have that kind of understanding. Okay, so these are the dynasties that I mentioned. The first is the Sharabhapuriya dynasty from 5th to 6th century, and then you have the Panduvamshis from 7th to 8th century, Somavamshis from the 9th to 12th century. Kalachuris were always in there as vassals of one main dynasty or the other, but after about this 12th century of the last part, they actually came into prominence. And Sirpur was actually the capital of Sharabhapuriya dynasty as well as Somavamshis, Panduvamshi, they all made Sirpur a capital. So let's look at the Hinduism influence at their place, right? So remember the important temples, like the first important temple is Lakshman temple. Okay, Lakshmana temple, which is actually dedicated to Vishnu, right? So the importance of this temple is that you can see the 10 avatars of Vishnu, right? You can see the 10 avatars of Vishnu, you can see the Midhunas there. Alright, Midhunas are there. Then you have the, it actually follows the Nagara architecture, right? That also keep in mind. Okay, that also keep in mind. Midhunas are like in the front of the Garbhagriha, kind of like guardians, right? Just like Dwarabalas in the Dravidian temples, you have Midhunas in the Nagara temple, Nagara styles. Then you have the Rama temple with stellate pattern, right? Okay, these are the temple complexes found in that region. I hope that is clear. Then you have the stellate pattern, Rama temple. Stellate pattern, don't go deeper. You might have known it, like for example, it was actually founded by the Kalyani, Western Chalukyas, right? Chalukyas of Kalyani. Then it was improved by, refined by the Hoysalas. Then you have the Gandheshwar temple. Gandheshwar temple, it's famous because it's an active Shiva temple. Active, okay? So there is an active Shiva temple in Sirpur, Gandheshwar temple. It has a Brahmi inscription in the Nagari script, which starts with Om. So you can actually see the symbol Om there. Okay, that is also quite important fact. Gandheshwar temple, it's an active Shiva temple. Then you have the Surang Tila complex. The Surang Tila complex is famous because it is the largest temple complex in Sirpur. Okay, it's the largest temple complex in Sirpur. In Sirpur, it has multiple shrines in the Panchayatana format, where one main deity will be there and there will be 4 subsidiary deities around it, right? Then it is dedicated to Shiva and Vishnu. Okay, Shiva and Vishnu. The Surang Tila complex is dedicated to Shiva and Vishnu. That is also keep in mind. Then you have the Baleshwar Mahadev temple. Okay, when you read about that, you can easily understand that it is actually dedicated to Shiva, right? Baleshwar Mahadev temple, it's dedicated to Shiva, which is made of marble. Okay, so which is made of marble. There is some Shivalinga which is made of marble there. Then you have Rakela Tal. Rakela Tal is actually a man-made lake. It has lot of flowers. Okay, it is man-made. Okay, so these are the Hinduist influences or Hinduism, where you can see Hinduism being practiced in the archaeological site of Sirpur. So please understand the different temples. Please understand what are special. Just know a few contexts, few facts related to each of these temple. right? Okay, the next is the Buddhist presence there. Buddhist presence is seen in the form of Mahaviharas and all those things. Like I told you, Tirvadeva Vihara is actually famous because of the bronze sculpture of the first Tirthankara, Rishabhanatha, right? Adinatha is another name. Yeah, that was actually Jain influence or Jain presence there. Buddhist influence is the Teevar Deva Mahavihara. It has a Buddhist statue, right? Buddhist statue. Okay, Jain it's actually there's a bronze image there. Okay, just keep that in mind. Then you have another Vihara, Ananda Prabhu Vihara, and the Swastika Vihara, right? And the Ananda Prabhu Vihara is dedicated for Avalokiteshvara, and the Swastika Vihara is dedicated to Padmapani, right? These are all bodhisattvas of Buddhism, right? So please understand, Buddhism is there. Remember what all viharas, the names of the viharas. Remember Jain's presence is also there in the form of a bronze image of Rishabhadeva. Remember the three Buddhist presence, the different viharas. Ananda Prabhu Vihara, Swastika Vihara, and the Teevar Deva Mahavihara, right? Okay, so this is a sample question for you to try. So, Sirpur emerged as a major religious urban center during the period of Panduvamshi rulers. So if you know that Panduvamshis actually made Sirpur their capital, you can say this is correct, right? And also you need to know it's an urban center, which was actually one of the first point. Statement 2, the Panduvamshis patronized the construction of Buddhist monasteries, Shaiva temples and civic structures in the Mahanadi valley. So Mahanadi, you can again get sure that the statement is correct. The fact that they mentioned Buddhist, Shaiva, civic structures, okay, these are all, when you study Sirpur, you might have read or you should have read all these kind of facts, right? So this also is true. And if you read them continuously or consecutively, there is a causal link, right? It's because of this patronization, it became a major religious center at that point of time. So, statement 1 and 2 is correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. So, I hope these facts are clear to you. Remember about Sirpur, remember it is in Chhattisgarh, remember the different influences there, remember the different dynasties there, remember about Dakshina Kosala, then remember that it was a major religious urban center during early medieval period, right? So, that's all in this session on current affairs. Thank you.